tragically, forgotten are the stories of the victims. Their stories are accounted for, much like their blood that was once spilled.
The Bangladesh government said it would permit food to be sent into a Bihari colony, which has been under a curfew for more than a week. The Biharis are a sect which sided with Pakistan in the war against India. They have paid a heavy price for that allegiance.
During the 1971 Liberation War of Bangladesh, roughly 300,000 people were placed into 116 internally displaced person camps all over Bangladesh by the Red Cross. These makeshift camps were built temporarily to house people who were identified as supporters of Pakistan by their language or by political affiliation.
But the victims of the 1970 war today are the second and third and now fourth generation children who are still living in those very camps at this very moment. My name is Imad Ahmed, and I am the Executive Director of OBAT Helpers, a community development and empowerment organization that has been working with underprivileged communities. OBAT is currently focusing on the Urdu-speaking people residing across various Bihari internally displaced persons camps in Bangladesh. While listening to their stories, I felt the pain echoing in their voices. Their struggles, their frustrations, and the injustices that they are facing and have felt became evident. But on the other hand, I saw the positive transformation of individuals and the community, all due to the non-stop persistence and compassion of just one man, Anwar Khan. But what I've learned from working with the OBAT is the issue, and many like it all over the world, are a human problem, and it requires compassion and empathy to solve it.
OBAT Helpers, with Anwar Khan's leadership, has worked with the community of the camps with empathy and respect since 2004.
And has positively impacted the lives of thousands and thousands of people. OBAT has taken a holistic approach to solving the many problems that the people of the camps have faced over the years, and has focused to empower the community to be self-sufficient. Since its inception in 1971, the camps have encountered various problems. The camps have historically faced major hurdles in the attempt to gain access to clean drinking water. The women and children from these camps have the burden of fetching water. They must wait in long queues for hours to obtain clean drinking water. A significant amount of maternal deaths and infant mortalities are due to the lack of access to clean drinking water. Complications caused by unsafe water restrains women, children, and the entire community in a vicious cycle of poverty. Thanks to OBAT Helpers' water initiatives, all of the camps in which we are operating around Bangladesh have experienced a rise in quality of life. We have installed water sources such as hand pumps and deep tube wells, which provide safe and accessible drinking water for more than 5,000 people daily. Daily complications caused by access of water and the quality of water creates restraints which stunts the growth of the community, ranging from health, education, and also economic opportunities. Nearly 50 years have passed, and these temporary living conditions still exist, with several generations still living in so-called temporary quarters. These refugee camps, which look similar to slums now, are scattered geographically all over Bangladesh. Rampant commonalities are access to clean water and sanitation and cramped living conditions. Families reside in an 8 by 8 foot room, sometimes in spaces as small as an average closet. These camps did not have toilets. Open gutters ran along homes and open sewage lines along alleyways.
Hearing heartbreaking stories of children falling into sewage lines and open gutters and drowning weren't uncommon.
There are approximately only 300 toilets available for more than 40,000 people in Geneva camp in Dhaka. Standing in long lines to use the toilet was the norm, and as a few hundred people have access to only one bathroom, while women are scared of using the community bathrooms late at night. Thankfully, OBAT and other Good Samaritans built community toilets for the camp residents. Basic health care is largely unavailable. Camp residents in urban areas have more options to visit government hospitals, but residents from the countryside camps do not have the same luxury. This directly impacts the lives of women, children, and the elderly.
Diseases are rampant. People don't get enough medical care while also lacking the resources to pay bills for medical checkups, and medicine is too expensive. The conditions of maternal and infant health care is dire. Miscarriages and high infant mortality rates are common as babies are delivered by untrained residents inside the camps.
Before the establishment of OBAT Health and mobile clinics in Saidpur and Rangpur, 80% of camp residents were suffering from common ailments and lacked access to proper treatment. Many of them died due to lack of medical help and medicines, while exposing the more vulnerable patients such as the elderly and pregnant women to greater risk. OBAT's initiatives of running health clinics, a mobile health clinic, and supplying maternal services for women in a number of camps has facilitated a marked improvement in the health sector. OBAT has recently started providing cataract surgeries for elderly camp residents and is glad to be facilitating the gift of sight to hundreds of patients a year. With OBAT's help, mothers who would otherwise have miscarried early on due to waterborne and sanitation-related diseases now have access to the health services. OBAT has given the community the ability to provide family members with medicine and medical assistance and has improved conditions. Now we are annually benefiting more than 5,250 patients from the Rangpur Clinic and more than 3,000 patients from the Saidpur Clinic. Since the inception of the refugee camps, the standard of living of the camp residents has been dire. Elderly people with no source of income or support system are living dreadful lives. These people have no support system except the camp community, and although these communities strive to do their best to support each other, the problem is too widespread to provide enough of a solution. OBAT Helpers is working rigorously to provide temporary relief to these women and children. Life in the camps is difficult. The residents are stuck in a vicious cycle of poverty and have struggled to put food on the table for generations. This struggle has strengthened them, taught them persistence, given them ambition and ethical work ethics. With the right guidance and resources, they can achieve social empowerment and economic freedom, which will pull them out of the cycle of poverty. Giving the residents economic freedom helps stimulate economic growth from within the camps. Community members begin providing other residents income opportunities and creating a cycle of empowering the community from within. OBAT has been working relentlessly, focusing on empowering women with microfinancing and vocational training opportunities to make them self-sufficient. In the early days of the camps, education was not valued, as they thought sending their children to school wasn't worth the struggle. The majority of camp residents worked at a minimum wage jobs as barbers, butchers, hourly laborers, or handcraft workers. Spending a month's salary on a child's education seemed unreasonable, considering the financial pressure on the families. Instead, they sent them directly to work. Families are often depending on the income of their children. To combat child labor, OBAT implemented young women entrepreneurship training centers and is slowly stimulating change. Presently, thanks to vocational and microfinancing training, there is a trend of women entrepreneurs in the camps. These women young heroes are role models and serve as inspirations to the next generation. The camps are plagued by the lack of access to education. The value of an education was not understood in the early days of the camps. People were more concerned about feeding their children than sending them to school. When OBAT first started its educational projects, we had to go door to door and convince families to send their children to OBAT schools. Nearly 80% of parents in the camps cannot afford to educate their children because of high tuition. After seeing the success of a few students achieving university degrees and getting professional jobs, the people in the camp now understand the value and attainability of an education. Now the problems we face are radically different. For example, the Rangpur community recently received a commotion during the admission season because our schools couldn't accommodate all students from the camps.
Although we have more work to do, we have come a long way. OBAT has been able to transform the importance of an education in the camps in a few short years.
OBAT provides education to over 6,500 students by providing access to scholarships, schools, and preschools, coaching facilities such as computer training and tutoring centers. OBAT's distinct approach of community engagement has helped empower the various camps around Bangladesh. 90% of OBAT's teachers, tutors, and staff all come from the very communities that they serve.
OBAT is empowering its staff with efficient tools so they can design and execute solutions based around the needs and requirements of the communities all over Bangladesh.
One very unique thing OBAT is really focused on is promoting and empowering our staff, teachers, tutors, and students in three vital areas. OBAT offers leadership training to each staff member in the organization with an aim to empower them with the capacity to translate their vision into reality. The core goal is to generate strategy building abilities within them so they can be able to help and empower their own lives and lead their families, friends, and their communities out of poverty, embedding skills that will help students on long-term career paths while providing them with the confidence to compete with the best and brightest of Bangladesh, building a sense of civic engagement so once these kids reach their true potential, they can turn around and help other people reach theirs. Is the ability in the kids to believe that they have the power and resources to create and implement solutions to the problems they face in their own lives or in their own communities. It's empowering a child with the confidence that they have the ability to solve the issues they face in their own lives and the ability to face any challenges. Providing them the tools and the resources to solve problems they face is empowering. This way, these underprivileged kids do not turn into victims, instead they become stewards of their own destiny. We are using human-centered design principles and training our student volunteers who in turn create initiatives and solutions to problems that their own community faces. We teach the students how to research a problem, brainstorm solutions, create prototypes, and how to implement them into the world in a sustainable way, making sure the solution is not only desirable, but also economic. OBAT is creating an environment for communities with access to unlimited resources via the web. Open source technologies are also being introduced as a part of the operational strategies of OBAT helpers, in order to instill skill sets and sharing knowledge and best practices within staff first, then teachers, tutors, and then finally to students. By providing technology to underprivileged kids, OBAT is opening a whole new world into the lives of the camps who could never envision diverse careers for themselves before, but now do. Availability of technology is providing them the experience and information they need to compete in the global markets in the future. With Anwar Khan's compassion and empathy, he has led the community to provide solutions to its biggest problems and has helped provide hope, inspiration, and strength to its future generations to stand up and empower themselves, their families to take responsibility of the outcomes of their own lives. Our continuous goal is to help the children in the camps fulfill their dreams and also make sure that they are the ones that define and write their own stories. And then the generations after them will have the opportunity to be remembered as they create their own future.